the Empire Sports Network, Sports Light is brought to you in part by Jubilee Foods.
You're gonna love what we've got in store.
Hello, welcome once again to another issue of Pros and Cons here on the Empire Sports Network. I'm Ed Kilgore, the sports director at WGRZ Television. We also have Larry Felser of the Buffalo Evening News and a nationally syndicated columnist at least part of the time. We have Art Wander of GR55 Radio, the Tiny Tot of the Kilowatt, and a special guest today, and this should be a lot of fun. We have John Muckler, who is the head coach and the director of operations of the Buffalo Sabres. Any other titles I've left out?
No, that's the only ones I can get on the card.
That's pretty much it. Okay, John's going to be here, so obviously we'll have a lot to say about the Buffalo Sabres, the NHL. We'll also talk about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL. That's all coming up right here on Pros and Cons in just a minute.
Some beer companies pour their money into expensive sports events. That can be a trap for you. Other beer companies pour their money into commercials filled with bathing beauties. That can inflate the price. But at Genesee, we pour our money into the purest water and the finest grains. Genny Light, the light beer that's real beer.
Get the inside story on the Buffalo Bills from the Bills' official publication, The Buffalo Bills Report. The Buffalo Bills Report takes you behind the scenes with the Bills' decision makers, with features such as Marv Levy's As I See It and the AFC East Report. Call now, 648-9597. The Buffalo Bills Report is proud to welcome co-sponsors like Jan's Smoke Shop on Bloomingdale Road in Akron on the Tonawanda Indian Reservation. The Buffalo Bills Report, the only official Bills publication.
Before we get to Mr. Muckler and talk about the Sabres and the hockey, we want to touch a little bit upon the Buffalo Bills, and of course they're flying along at 4-0 and should be a pretty good ball game Sunday afternoon when the Miami Dolphins come in, Larry and Art, and you know, they're 3-0, but it's not nearly as impressive a 3-0 as, of course, the Bills 4-0.
Very tenuous 3-0,
yeah.
Eddie. They could have easily lost last week's game, probably should have, to Seattle. And they were taken to a sweat by Cleveland in a game that nobody expected to even be fairly close. So they come in here, Miami comes in here well established as a heavy underdog.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know whether Keith Jackson had anything to do with this, but the spread actually came down. It started at about 13, now it's maybe 11.5. Does that mean everybody's putting their money, starting to put their money on the Dolphins? I don't know.
I don't know. See, I look at it. The teams you're supposed to really batter: Cleveland, Seattle, New England, and now the New York Jets. Everybody should batter them. Cleveland has had a tough time, like Larry says, whereas Buffalo, the teams you have to beat, they just go on a furious onslaught, the Rams and New England and Indianapolis. So there's the key. This is probably why the spread is like that, because nobody's going to be able to stop that offense. And nobody will, neither will Miami.
No, I was going to say, I think about the only chance that Miami would have would be if somehow they can get some yards for Higgs. He doesn't fumble, which I think the Bills are very aware that he does tend to depart with the football a little bit. If they can give Marino a little time, and then if their defense can come up with some turnovers, and they haven't really been doing that. So, yeah, I think it could get, I see it as close for maybe a half. I won't make a prediction yet, but I think the Bills are going to have not much problem. Any surprises from the way they handle New England for you, Larry?
The only surprise was that when they blew it open, you kind of expected they would blow it open. They blew it open completely. Yeah. And, I mean, it became no contest at all, and I thought it might be.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen Kelly look any better. He was very patient the first half, kind of picked along a little bit, took what was there, and then in the second half, as the running game was working, and of course the Patriot DBs had to start coming up, then it was just like, see you later.
See, maybe you don't want to pick this early. No, we'll save it.
We'll save it for yeah.
That's right. Let them wait for me to give my picks.
Let's talk a little hockey, because I'm excited about this hockey team now. John said to me in the press box the other night that the way they were playing there, that LaFontaine and McGillney may not be able to crack this lineup, but I'm assuming, yeah, you were kidding. You've got a team that's really got that kind of speed you're looking for, and they're going to score some goals and hopefully keep a few out.
Well, we hope we can score some goals. It looks like we can with Howard Chuck and Andrew Chuck and McGillney, LaFontaine and Presley and people like that, and also the two Soviets. They should be able to contribute in that offensive area. Our defense are pretty mobile. They move the puck pretty good. I think if we have any concern, we're really worried about our third center ice, and we'd like to have a playmaker in there. But we have Bobby Corkum and Dave Hannon who are fighting for that position at this particular time, and for now, we're going to go ahead and see if they can do the job.
When you say the Russians, are you talking specifically about Smelik and well, Smelik,
Himmelev.
Yeah, because has Cherny been signed yet, or what's the situation on Cherny?
Well, Cherny is 18 years old, and there seems to be a little complication between the Czech Federation and our organization. They claim that Cherny is under contract to a team in Czechoslovakia. Once that's straightened out, we do intend to sign Cherny to a contract, and he'll probably start in Rochester, but he's a talented youngster.
Well,
at 18, the way he's performed, I mean, I think it's exceptional.
Look, very simply, I mean, if there's a problem with that, we name Schwarzkopf, president of the National Hockey League, declare war on Czechoslovakia, take him over, and he's ours.
That's a pretty good idea. I mean, they seem to be naming anybody these days.
I think you start worrying about this team, really, because people are starting to pick you to win this division. And
well,
Yeah, I've seen several publications, Larry.
Stan Fischler, who's no great friend of the Sabres, as
I wish it wasn't Stan, because he's wrong every time. I've known him for a long time. I don't think he's ever been right in his life. But I heard that in Toronto, too. We should be competitive. I don't know whether they're picked to finish in first place. Quebec's made a lot of changes. Montreal's made some changes. Boston came on strong in the playoffs last year and have added additions since then. So I think it's really going to be the team who can get some breaks and stays healthy, because it's going to be very, very competitive. And I don't know how you can pick anybody for first place. And I think there's going to be a lot of determining factors as we go through the schedule. It's going to determine who's going to finish in first place.
How will the coaching change in Montreal affect that particular team, together with the players that Corson's gone, Courtnall's gone, Gilchrist is gone? How will that affect, and how will that affect that team, and plus the new coach being in there?
They've changed their team. Courtnall and Gilchrist have abundance of speed. They've lost a lot of speed, and they've lost some toughness in Corson. They've received two players who are very highly talented, maybe not quick skaters, but have good hands and will score 30 or better goals for them. And the Demers, as far as coaching, will loosen up the defensive part of the game. He'll become a more offensive team. Patrick Wall will be left open more often than he has been in the past. He's been used to stopping one shot and then everybody taking care of the rebound. Well, that's not going to happen any longer. So the adjustment, maybe they can make the adjustment, maybe they can't, but they'll have a different personality.
Well, one of the guys you're talking about is Brian Bellows, and he was kind of an enigma in Minnesota. I get the feeling Bob Gainey wasn't all that unhappy that he left.
Well, Brian's a little bit of a free spirit, and he has his own thinking how you should practice, and might not be on the same line of keel as a coach. And he picks his spots, but he's a talented player. And I think when he receives the challenge to become a better player, and I think he's already received that going into Montreal, that he'll have a good year.
You know, to my way of thinking, I think there's a misconception about Quebec. I know they strengthened themselves through the Lindros deal and all, but so many people seem to think because Hextall's in the nets now that has upgraded him a great deal. I mean, Hextall was in the nets for Philadelphia last year. They didn't make the playoffs.
Well, it's not only Hextall that upgrades the hockey club. It's all those good young players who are a year older, and you don't know whether they're mature enough to be able to come on and play a major part in their team. I've seen this happen because in Edmonton, you know, Gretz and Mess and Anderson and people like that were not always great players. They were there when they were 21, 22 years old, and then all of a sudden they all grew up at the same time and became great hockey players, and the team took right off. We did not have any veterans at that particular time, so the same thing can be happening in Quebec. That's one thing that you're really fearful about. I mean, if Sundin and Kamitsky and Nolan and Sakic and Hextall and the other people they've added to their hockey club all of a sudden gel and the chemistry's right and they all become mature, they've got one heck of a hockey club.
All right, we're going to hold that thought. We're going to be back to talk more about the Sabres and the Adams division and the NHL at large in just a minute here on Pros and Cons on the Empire Sports Network.
Senator,
Yeah, Jack, come on in.
you wanted to see me?
What happened here?
Senator.
Laura? Originally, when this cable bill was drafted, our intent was to regulate rates.
That's right.
Now, the way I'm reading it, it's going to raise rates.
Only a few dollars a month.
Yeah, Jack. A few dollars a month.
Could be as much as $3 billion a year if you count all cable customers.
Well, you know what happens. The special interest groups get involved. Before you know it...
One of the reasons is the major broadcast networks want to now start charging cable users extra to watch their programs.
Only cable users? Everyone else will still get these programs for nothing.
That's the way it'll turn out.
And I take it nobody's asked the cable users how they feel about this.
Well, no.
Hi, I'm Bill Pulliam, General Manager of the Buffalo Bills. It's a tough job, but one of the things that makes it fun is talking with you, the best fans in the NFL. Monday nights at 8 on the Empire Sports Network.
The Bill Polian press conference is brought to you by Buffalo area Jeep and Eagle dealers, who invite you to see the new Grand Cherokee.
My career was stuck in neutral, going nowhere fast. I decided to call Northeast Institute. The team at Northeast can accelerate your new career with hands-on, practical training, with no liberal arts, training that takes months, not years. So stop spinning your wheels in a job leading nowhere. Call Northeast Institute and get on the fast track to a new career.
To find out how, call Northeast Institute at 838-6984.
Back again on Pros and Cons, and John Muckler with us. And John, one of the conceptions or ideas about the Adams division always seems to be that you have, especially since you have a couple small rinks in there in Boston and Buffalo, that in order to play in that small rink, you have to have this physical team that bangs and everybody around. And you're getting away from that. I don't know if Boston is, but do you think that's kind of an overrated idea that you have to have a...
The black and blue division, you have to play defensive hockey.
There always seemed to be this this idea that because you're playing a smaller rink, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if you can skate. You better have guys that can bang.
Well, it makes absolutely no sense to myself, but and I think other coaches are starting to agree, because you see Montreal changed the style of their club, Quebec's changed the style of their club. I think Boston's changed the style of their hockey club too. The only one that hasn't changed the style is going to be Hartford. They're going to be a physical hockey club and try to out-hit you. But my reasoning for thinking a speed club works well in a small rink is that if you forecheck and you have a lot of speed, you get there a little bit quicker. So it's a little tougher for the opposition to be able to pick their spots and move the puck as well as they want to move it if you're right on top of them. So I think it's actually easier for a speed team to play in a smaller building than it is in a bigger building.
Well, boy, your Edmonton teams really showed that in the playoffs in Boston. Now, I never have figured this out, though. You'd go in there and die in the regular season.
Yeah.
Are you guys playing? I mean, how do you have a team that in the regular season goes in there and they just kind of sleepwalk through, and then in the playoffs it's like you're all over them and they can't even breathe?
Well, we had to make certain adjustments. We had to have the players willing to make those adjustments. You have to remember, during the regular schedule, Gretz had to score his 250 points at that particular time, and Mess had to score his 50 goals, and Curry had to get 70. Andy had to get his 40, and then once they all got their individual accomplishments out of the way, then it became a team concept, and that's fair. And we used to accept that, and we knew that come playoff time, if you look at the stats of the Edmonton Hockey Club during the playoffs, their goal average was always covering around 2 rather than 3, and it was just total concentration. And defense, to me, any club can play it if you have that concentration and the willingness and the dedication to be able to do it, and that's all it takes. Talented people, if they have creativity to be able to produce offensively, why can't they play defense? Defense is a lot easier to play than offense. You just have to have dedication, and then you'll be successful.
So might it be the same situation here in effect? Sabre teams in the past have tended to try and play that defensive style quite a bit through the regular season as well. Now you've got some pretty creative offensive guys here. Might we see that same kind of thing, maybe a little more wide open in the regular season, and then?
If we're going to be successful or more successful than we were last year, we have to cut down on our goals against. I mean, a lot of people look at our system as totally offensive, and I disagree with that. We do a lot of things offensively, which we feel we're doing defensively to stop the team in the other end rather than trying to stop the team in our end. So we're forechecking well. We're actually playing defense. We're causing turnovers by puck pursuit so we can control the puck. And if we control the puck 65 to 70% of the game and you don't have it, then we're going to win the hockey game. So that's our philosophy.
Let me ask you a question. Which of these rule changes do you hate the most that they put in? I mean, lay it out on the table. Come on, John.
I like the holding call. I think it's great because I think the skilled hockey players will have more freedom now. Because what happens every time a defenseman or a forward who's on defense gets himself into a bind or he gets speed, he just grabs the stick or he grabs the sweat or whatever it may be. Now, there's an instant call on that now. There's no hesitation whatsoever. You're gone. As soon as your hand's on that stick, you have a 2-minute penalty, and you have to accept that. Now, to make that work, we have to get cooperation from the players. Right now, it seems to be just human nature to do that because they've done it so many times. And it also makes you realize how many fouls were not called before. So, but I think that's a great rule. And
What's
I think
the one that you hate the most?
Well, I think the high sticking penalty has to be modified a little bit. Right now, if you get your stick above the opponent's waist, they can call a high sticking penalty. I think it has to go up to maybe the elbow or the armpit or whatever it may be. But the players now have kept their sticks a heck of a lot lower than they have in the past. They seem to be very conscious about it. But they are running into a lot of penalties. And again, you have to get the cooperation of the players. And we're not getting that at this particular time. And I don't think we're getting the full cooperation from the referees either. They're calling it strictly to the book. And they have to have some imagination. And they have to have some feel for the game. And once they combine both, I think it'll satisfy both sides. Because we were in Hamilton the other night, and it didn't matter who received the penalty, the fans were booing. And I don't blame them, because there was a whistle every 30 seconds and it slowed the play down.
Of course, the Hamilton fans are just mad because they don't have a franchise. Maybe that's what...
Well, that could be.
That could be. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, we're going to be back here and continue this conversation on pros and cons on the Empire Sports Network.
Some beer companies pour their money into expensive racing events. Does that make your beer taste better? Other beer companies pour their money into commercials with glamour and glitz, but you foot the bill. But at Genesee, we pour our money into the purest water and the finest grains. Jenny Light, the light beer that's real beer.
My career was stuck in neutral, going nowhere fast. I decided to call Northeast Institute. The team at Northeast can accelerate your new career with hands-on, practical training, with no liberal arts, training that takes months, not years. So stop spinning your wheels in a job leading nowhere. Call Northeast Institute and get on the fast track to a new career.
To find out how, call Northeast Institute at 838-6984.
We're back talking a little hockey right now on pros and cons, and I know, Larry, you had something you were going to bring up here.
I think the most radical step taken in this hockey season has occurred already is the Pittsburgh Penguins, coming off of 2 Stanley Cup championships, have decided that it's okay to dispense with the coach. You don't need the coach anymore. You know, you can have an invisible man open the door and let the guys come out and play. You think that's a forward-looking maneuver on their part, John, or what?
Well, I think Brasso had the best line. He says, we get a bad coach, well, we may have to work a little harder to win it, but if we get a good coach, we win it by 20 games.
Well, there's always been a perception that, and you probably heard this in Edmonton, that, if you have these great players, all you have to do is know when to open the gate. But
well, it's a little more difficult than that. I'll tell you, when we won our first 2 Stanley Cups in Edmonton, everything went right for us. There's no question about it. And we were hungry to win, and everybody played with a lot of intensity, and everybody's very cooperative. And we all blended well together, and we worked under a team concept. And then when we lost, in between the 4 that we won, it was a different story. And they seemed to go away from the team concept, and they seemed to have no respect for their opponent whatsoever. And it didn't matter who they were playing against. It was just a matter of time before they were going to win the hockey game. Well, it came down to we got ourselves into a jam, and played the 7th game in Edmonton, and you know what happened there. Steve Smith put the puck in our own net, and we couldn't come back, and we were knocked out by Calgary. And Calgary went on, and that was the year Montreal won it in between our dynasty. And it can happen to you. And I think Pittsburgh's just about ripe to be knocked off.
Besides, Parasso can't have remembered what Kelly Gruber said last spring. He predicted the Blue Jays would win the division by 20 games. As we speak, they haven't won it yet. So
Kozlet follows that particular situation. Mike, let me ask you a question. The optimism is there with fans, with everybody else. Do you feel very strongly that they're going to compete for the Adams division? You said that at the press conference, that you're not thinking about just improving the ball club, you're thinking Stanley Cup.
Well, we always think Stanley Cup going in. Art, I'm not saying that we're going to be the Stanley Cup champion. I think that we have the talent to be competitive in our own division. Let's win our own division. I mean, first of all, we have to start winning some games in our own division. Like last year, we're under 500. If we're going to finish in 1st or 2nd or any higher than 3rd, we have to start winning in our own division. That's the first accomplishment we have to conquer. I think we got a great chance of coming out of our division. I like our hockey club, and I think we're as good as other hockey clubs who were considered in front of us at this particular time. As I said before, it's going to be very, very competitive, and a lot of things are going to you have to take into consideration over 80 games, and a lot of things will happen over those 80 games that may not let you accomplish what you want to accomplish. But going in, I feel very confident of this hockey club. It's a better hockey club than it was last year, and I'll rest assured it'll play better.
What about your goaltending situation? Unless you've made a deal today that we don't know about, you're certainly going to lose one.
Well, we may not lose any. We have to leave one open in the draft.
Right.
We can protect 2. Draper's exempt from the draft, and we have to leave another person open in the draft. That decision will be published probably tomorrow or the next day. But it's an if, really. Hasek has never been number 1. Draper's never been number 1. Pupa's coming off 2 bad years, has played exceptionally well in the exhibition games, and Malarchuk has had a bad year through illness last year. So it's an if. A lot of people have to have good seasons. They got to rebound. We like our goalkeeping. We feel that it's going to be strong enough. For us to move up higher, it has to be, because you look at Quebec with Hextall, and then you got Moog in Boston, and you got Patrick Waugh in Montreal. It has to be better. That's why we lost last year. Andy Moog was the top goalkeeper in our series, and he won the series for Boston. That was the difference.
Will Pupa have a shot to be the number 1 again? I mean, he has come off a couple bad seasons. I mean, how long does it take before you as a coach and you as an organization kind of get your confidence back in him?
Well, we have to decide which ones we're going to protect first of all.
Yeah.
All these decisions will be made before today's over, and the lists have to be in at 5 o'clock tonight. So we really can't expound on that question until we decide who's going to be protected, who's going to be open.
While we're wrapping this up here, just a real quick thing about, of course, the instant replay died in the NFL, and now you've in the NHL. I just wonder what your feelings are about it.
I like instant replay. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Now let him finish here, Art. Just let him finish.
I don't think instant replay can be a referee. I don't think he can call make every decision on the field. But in hockey, I think it's great because when there's a dispute over goal, whether it's in, kicked in, or whatever it may be, whether it's in or out, I think it's a necessity in our game.
Then the thing to correct it is get rid of Harris, because the guy can't see.
I tell you what, I totally agree with you, though, John, because I can remember Rick Martin one year when he was going for his 50 goals. He drilled one right through the net.
How do you feel about it?
And I've seen that happen.
Well,
Hated it in football. I like it in hockey if they maintain it only for scoring, to determine goals.
I think you're going to see it back in football in some defined form. And even though it's a pain in the neck,
No.
We've already seen so many blown calls already early in the season that I think
Doesn't
we're gonna
matter.
see it
The
back.
flow of the game, 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Hey, the games are longer. Art, the games are longer this year. Oh, yes, they are.
You're believing the propaganda. You're believing
No,
Denver was
they're longer.
18 minutes short of 3 hours. Buffalo was 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Yep.
No.
That's 2 games.
No, don't get me.
I think football has the same problem that hockey has. There's so many things going on in the field. The officials can't see everything.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be back to have a couple predictions about the NFL this weekend when we come back here on Pros and Cons on the Empire Sports Network.
Senator,
Yeah, Jack, come on in.
you wanted to see me?
What happened here?
Senator,
Laura?
Originally, when this cable bill was drafted, our intent was to regulate rates.
That's right.
Now, the way I'm reading it, it's going to raise rates.
Only a few dollars a month.
Yeah, Jack, a few dollars a month.
could be as much as $3 billion a year if you count all cable customers.
Well, you know what happens. The special interest groups get involved. Before you know it...
One of the reasons is the major broadcast networks want to now start charging cable users extra to watch their programs.
Only cable users? Everyone else will still get these programs for nothing.
That's the way it'll turn out.
And I take it nobody's asked the cable users how they feel about this.
Well, no.
The hottest beach in town serves up spikes and saves, digs and drives. The Coors Light Women's Pro Beach Volleyball Tour. It's a smash.
Hi, I'm Paul McGuire. Watch the Bill Polian press conference live Monday nights at 8 on the Empire Sports Network. Or get out of town.
Pool is back and hotter than ever. So come on out to Classic Q Billiards and Cafe, a billiard parlor of the future, with fun and excitement for the whole family. And for the latest in billiard equipment and supplies, check out Carl's Pro Shop with over 50 pool cues on display. Classic Q also has a service department that will handle all your pool table needs, including recovering and repairs. So this weekend, stop by Classic Q Billiards and Cafe, your full-service billiard center and pool room.
It's the battle of the unbeatens this weekend, one in the NFC and one in the AFC. Larry, who do you like?
Well, Keith Jackson's not going to help Miami much here. He might down in the rematch, but the Bills, I think, will win big. And as far as Philly and Dallas goes, Ed, I don't think that Dallas can win 2 years in a row in Philly. I like Philly.
Okay, from my standpoint, it's a nationally televised game. You know that Bruce Smith is going to have a whale of a game. It's a nationally televised game with Trumpy coming in, spare me with that. Bills, no question about it. Philadelphia, no problems. I'm going with Philly all the way.
John?
I like Buffalo. They're on a roll. I think they got the best talent in the league and the best team at this particular time. I don't think anybody's going to stop
How
Buffalo.
about Philly, Dallas?
I like Philadelphia.
Boy, I hate to do this, but I like Philly too, and I also like the Bills, both of them to win rather handily, so we'll see what happens. Hey, thanks for joining us. For Larry and Art and John Muckler, our special guest.